Hi there, welcome to Planet Zoo and my Australian journey. 4 years ago, September 2020, when the Planet Zoo Australia pack released, I started building an Australian themed eco-zoo. My idea at the time was to create a sustainable zoo using environmentally friendly design and sustainable technology. This is something I know quite a bit about working in the construction industry in my real job. Well, around a month into this project, I suffered a major creative block and I parked the project until I'd figured out what I wanted to do with it. This was meant to be a temporary break, but it ended up being a 4-year hiatus. Over that time, I'd occasionally load the zoo back up, stare at it a while, yet I was still ultimately stuck on how to progress. The concept was a solid idea, but the execution was all wrong. I think my big mistake was creating this in the Red Desert biome, an outback zoo. This would work okay for a very small zoo of 3 or 4 habitats, but anything larger, the harsh climate and remoteness of the outback, it's not realistic. Ultimately, I think my creative block originated from the conflict between my vision for the zoo and how what I wanted to do with it was simply too far removed from the reality of what could be realistically achievable in a desert setting. I know this is just a game and you can basically do whatever you want, but for me, half the fun of Planet Zoo is making things look like they belong. Ultimately, what I'd started to set up here, it was starting to feel too much of a stretch for a desert zoo. Wasn't happy with this, couldn't continue building in it because every time I'd open it, I'd just stare at it and be like, nah, can't do this. So, about a month ago, I took another look at the Australia Zoo and I decided it was now or never. Finish this thing or bin it once and for all. That said, I didn't want to lose any of the good stuff I'd already put in here, so I blueprinted everything I wanted to keep from this and I started up a brand new zoo. This time using an Oceania temperate biome, which fits much better with my ideas and a majority of the Oceania species that I wanted to put in here. Now I won't lie, it has been quite a bit of work, but it's worth it. After years of neglecting this project, the ideas just started flowing again, and ultimately this is what I've come up with. So here we go, my new, but also a little bit old, Australia Zoo. Have to say, I am so much happier scrapping the Red Desert and moving all of this over to Oceania temperate biome, a much more appropriate setting for the kind of zoo I was going for. Let's start at the beginning. So I scrapped the standard entrance that comes with every zoo. Got my own entrance going on down in the corner. As with all entrances, you start with the spawner and then you move into the ticket gates. So for the spawner in this one, this is sneakily hidden underground. You're not meant to see this really. I probably shouldn't be showing this because I've not decorated in here. So that's the make-believe section. Oh, anyway, nicely hidden this into the landscape. So hopefully you can't tell that this was originally flat. And this brings you out into the real entrance. Welcome to Australia Zoo. I'm not fantastic at signage, so hopefully this is good enough. I do a better job at making grand entrances. This is pretty grand. Classic trademark of mine though, there is a monorail that runs right through the entrance. I'd say 9 times out of 10, my big builds always end up with some kind of transport running through the entrance. Don't know why, I guess I just like how it looks. Guest centre below this, The design here is a conscious choice using sustainable timber and modular 3D printed walls. That's a real thing and is a game changer in terms of lowering the carbon footprint of constructing new buildings. A hint there of what's on the other side too. Let's make our way through. So that huge wooden shade I had over the dingo habitat in the other build, yeah, I've moved that to the entrance. Way more appropriate here. It's currently about 26 degrees Celsius in the zoo, so providing necessary shading there for when guests walk through. Below this and to the side is a gift shop. I still don't trust the ready-made gift shop, so I do always make my own. Haven't gone into great detail on this one. I was struggling because it's all themed with various animals and I didn't really want hats and stuff with monkeys and things on it because they're not in the zoo. Back out on the central path, first thing I've got set up here is a walking tour point. First time I've ever used these, I've set up at all. I've also taken the time with this zoo to set up some signage. There's a few of these dotted around the zoo indicating direction of animals. That brings us nicely to the first habitat. This is the Tasmanian devil. Nice big enclosure here for them. I have been guilty in the past of not making them big enough, so yeah, give them loads of room. They seem to enjoy it. Also, believe it or not, this is the first time I've ever used these viewing domes. Fun little addition, although I will say those blooming entrances for them, they're huge. They're really difficult to disguise, so I did manage it, but I was struggling with that. And to be fair, the domes themselves, well, they do look great, don't they? Went for an odd shape for this habitat because I've got a bit sick of doing square ones. I've been doing square habitats for ages, so good that I had freedom with this build to make the habitats any shape I wanted. There was no restrictions. And there we go, viewing dome entrance. Oh, and we've got someone going in. Let's see. Oh, there we go. You enjoying that? I think you just missed the devils. They were here just before you got here. Now you get a close-up view of a rotting pumpkin. They seem well pleased with that. Hey ho, whatever floats your boat. Alright, that is about it for the devils. Let's move on to the next habitat. And this one is, well, I've created a cove for the little penguins. Always a joy to build penguin enclosures. Set this one up right on the edge of the water, make it look a bit more realistic. It is also a walk-through enclosure, although typical there isn't anyone walking through right now. But yeah, had a lot of fun building a lovely little cove and beach and water area. I do really enjoy making these. There we go, there's the penguins and... Oh, what are you doing? Uh-oh. Oh, jeez, he escaped into the wall. It's always the penguins. Why do they insist on being naughty like this? No, never going to find him now. Too busy, it'll just have to wait. Head back in and I'll figure out how on earth they're getting out there later. Got a big hard shelter in here. There is also some burrows. Oh, hang on. There was a burrow right where the escapee went to. Was that just a glitch? Let's see. Yeah, loads of them in here. I bet that was them going into the burrow, but the animation glitched up and it made it look like it'd gone through the wall. Sorry about that, penguins. Clearly not your fault. We can blame the game for that. Got the monorail passing right by here as well, so you get a nice view of the penguins or you get a nice view of the ocean. So win-win there, I'd say. So that's the penguins. Oh yes, also there's a walking tour point on this enclosure, but I've also got in a seating talking point as well. Going for all the education in this zoo. Custom canopy here over the seating. I made this myself and I have used this in a few builds now. It's one of my staples. Right, can't spend all day with penguins. Let's move on. We'll go back this way that we came right by the entrance. You might recognise this building. This is one of the blueprints I saved from my original Australia zoo. Has an upgrade. It's now got a green living roof. So even better than before with the sustainability credentials there. This building was definitely key to my original idea, going with sustainable design. Particularly in a hot country, this timber panelling is used like this to help cool a building. Not made any changes inside here, and oh, I just love the way the light reflects in here, the way it bounces off the glass, and having the statues in the middle. Oh, it just all works so perfectly. This is why I wanted to blueprint this and move it over here. Could not build this zoo without it. Like I say, changed the materials of the walls and stuff, but haven't changed the design concept of this at all. I think it's perfect the way it is. Glad I was able to get it across with not too much difficulty. Right, what do we have next? Where should we go? There's a few options, couple of paths we could take, or maybe we should head back over to the entrance and we'll take a look at some of the features over there in case we don't get back there. This pathway here, it does go by a staff building, so a proper build, this would probably be a problem, but I'm playing on creative mode, so guests aren't affected by this as it should be. Anyway, this path brings you to the first transport hub, so this is where you pick up the monorail. A deliberate, understated design for this. Again, that's to do with the sustainability credentials of the build here, using as few unnatural materials as possible. For a sustainable build, you should only make the buildings as big as necessary, so no wasted materials for this. More bonus points there again for a green roof. There's also nothing important in here needs locking away, so this is all open to let the air ventilate through, naturally. Bit strange nobody's wanting to ride at the moment. There's a massive queue for this before. Don't know what's going on with that. Also speakers. Speakers everywhere. Make a special effort for this zoo. Oh, and while we're still with the monorail, I didn't show you it going through the entrance. Spent so long making this, really have to see it go through, and look, doesn't touch any of the sides. Nothing clips through. Oops, camera being funny there. We're back. And just look at that view they get up here. Beautiful. What a welcome if you go straight to the monorail as soon as you come into the zoo. That's annoying now, hairy bit of ceiling. I've spent hours with these living roofs getting rid of the grass as it clips through. Impossible to get them all though. Anyway, before I get sidetracked even more, let's make our way back to past the entrance and take a look at another habitat. So on this side here, we've got the koala in here. If you've watched any of my other builds, you may recognise this. This is the koala build that I used in my Every Animal Zoo. I've used this a few times now in different builds, and that's purely because I really like this build. I'd go as far as saying that the koala build I did in the Every Animal Zoo gave me the idea to pick back up with the Australia Zoo. When I was building this in Every Animal Zoo, I think that's when it clicked that the creative block I was feeling with the original zoo was likely because it was completely the wrong biome for it. So yeah, glad I figured that one out and didn't have to just bin this zoo. Anyway, moving on, we're up to our first exhibit species, and in here, this is the, well, I suppose you could call this the snake box. This is the eastern brown snake, I believe, and next door to this, we've got a death adder. Don't think I can see this one. Oh no, just very well camouflaged there. 3D printed structure for this again. You can see a bit of a theme going on here with the buildings. Right, at a crossroads now, left or right? Let's go left. Up this side of the zoo, first habitats for the kiwi. Tried to come up with some corny names for the habitats, so yeah, this one's Kiwi Corner. I did spell it with a K and then decided against that, I just couldn't do it. This is another walkthrough habitat. Where possible, I've been doing walkthrough habitats in this zoo. Obviously, things like the koala, I used a habitat I'd already built for that, so didn't really want to change that into a walkthrough. But where I could, and I was building new habitats, I have made them into walkthroughs. Also been adding burrows, which I don't normally do outside of creative mode, so that's been nice to play with those for once. And habitats like this, a lot bigger than they should be, so no need for them to be all bunched up like this. You know, you're standing on its head there, that's not on, is it? Big bullies. It's the animals in Planet Zoo, keep bringing me back. They're just so funny, they do all these quirky things. Oh dearie me. Right. Where are we? Got turned around there. Right, next up, this is the saltwater crocodile. Being honest with this one, it's a little on the small side for what the crocodiles need. I wedged it in here because, well, I thought it would be funny to have the crocs swimming under the pier I've built here, coming off the restaurant. I relaxed my usual rules on this build though, and I have taken some creative liberties where I thought it looked better for it. And the restaurant does look good perched above a dangerous species like that. The restaurant building, this is a modified version of the entrance structure, very much in the spirit of the design ethos with this zoo. Prefabricated, repeatable design leads to faster, more efficient construction in real life, so mimicking that principle across this zoo. Another cheesy name, Croc Kitchen. I'm not very good with coming up with names. Anyway, that's the backside of the restaurant. There is more going on behind it, so follow this sign and it'll take us up this hill to more things happening here. This also leads back to the koalas, but we've already seen that. So turn up here and we're into, well, this is an open air butterfly habitat. Apparently the monarch butterfly can be found in Oceania, so great to be able to include them. This is also the first time I created an open air butterfly exhibit. Normally I just box them in, but for this one I thought let's have a go at getting rid of the whole of the box stuff and let them fly about as they will. Top of the hill is the crock kitchen entrance. As per usual, I've got the kitchen open here, so we've got the same louvered windows as I've got all over this zoo. It works well and it fits the theme. Let's take a quick look inside. Not a huge amount of decoration in here. Minimalist style, I think, is what they call it. Definitely not anything to do with the fact I was getting a bit tired of building by this point. Guests do get a great view out on the deck though, so yeah, that makes up for the lack of decoration. There is one more thing I want to show you up here on this side of the zoo. Oh, and notice there's a window missing there. Oops. Never mind that. Can't get distracted by finding little errors here or there. It is true, we are our own worst critics when it comes down to it. Anyway, what I wanted to show you back here, there is one more Oceania exhibit species, and that's a bat. I've hidden this one down underground, so yeah, there is a bit of a steep hill there. That's why there's a handrail, and through the doorway here. Oh, before I forget, yep. Added the bat decoration, even though it's not the right species, that doesn't matter, it's still a really cool scenery piece. Anyway, let's go in. Bat cave. Wish it was a tad bit darker in here to show it off better, but I don't want to be taking ages fiddling with changing the time of day to get it right, so we'll deal with it being lighter in here than I'd like. Fun feature down here, the monorail runs right alongside the cave. Took me ages getting this to line up properly, and I'm so pleased it worked out as intended. Don't think it counts as monorail riders getting a view of the bats, but regardless, I think it was a fun feature to add down here. So that's the flying foxes. Let's take the other entrance out, and the guests do use both these entrances. I thought about putting separate entrance and exit signs up here, but they wouldn't obey them, so what's the point? Anyway, make our way back down the hill and let's have a look at the sign. Yep, that's pointing us in the direction of the other exhibit species. Same design concept here as with the other boxes. Just added some shading with this because there's something on the other side and it fits well there. Species we have here, this is eastern blue-tongue lizard. Down in the viewing hold there. And next door is the burrowing cockroach. Not going to play the can I find the cockroach game. I can never find them. The tiny bugs in these are always difficult to find. Oh, hang on. No, I think I can see them. Said I wasn't playing this, but here you go. Here's some cockroaches. Across from this, I've got a toilet facility because, well, I'd noticed that I hadn't had a toilet in quite a while, so figured guests would appreciate having somewhere to have a rest stop here. This is also breaking up the space in this section of the zoo because it is quite habitat heavy back here. Speaking of which, let's take a look at our next habitat animal. What have we got here? This is the platypus. This is yet another walkthrough enclosure. Lots of walkthrough enclosures here for the Oceania species. Like with the crocodiles, the pond I've put in here for the platypus is a little bit small for them. If I recall, they do want deep water to dive in, and yeah, I've not accommodated for that, so if I wasn't playing this in creative mode, they would probably be a bit upset about that. Thanks to creative mode, they're very happy here. I do worry about the platypus though with a walkthrough enclosure. They're so small and dainty. Feels like they'd get trampled if there was more guests in here than there is right now. Sometimes it's so full with guests you can't even see the animals. I think there should be a 3-party limit or something with that. Anyway, moving on. Next up is the cassowary. Love the cassowaries. Really enjoyed making this habitat too. Kind of split level, so put my thinking cap on to fit in the feeder here. Getting the wood to line up underneath so it looks like it's some sort of foundation there. New design for a hard shelter here as well. This is one that's brand new for this zoo. Oh, and we've got a little baby here. Bit odd looking, aren't they? Let's leave them to it. What was that jump? What are you doing? Odd pathing glitch, I think. Right. Aha, another station. Hey, and we've got guests waiting here to ride. So it is still working. Sometimes it can glitch and it stops working, but it looks like it is running. There's just not much demand for it. Similar design to the first station, so yeah, we won't spend much time up there. There's much more interesting stuff back here. Got another sign here telling us where to go. And, oh, what's this? Dingo, you say? Follow the road up, and here we go, Dingo Den. This takes us back underground slightly here for yet another education point. So much education in this zoo, it's like a school, isn't it? The one I made for the little penguins, that was kind of shoehorned into the middle of the road. This one gets its own dedicated area. Good view of the dingoes from here as well. This underground section, it is just another one of those features I've put into the zoo to break up the space more. That's what we do here, find ways to break up spaces so it's not just habitat upon habitat and no reprieve. And that, funny enough, brings us to our next habitat. This time it's the common wombat. And we've got a little one here pretending to eat some watermelon. The wombats don't need a lot of space, so this is quite a small habitat, and this is perfectly fine for them. I've also added a natural hard shelter, and there is supposed to be a cardboard box on the shelf, and they can get up here because obviously they've destroyed it. Great no-fuss animal, the wombat, easy to build for, easy to look after. Let's see what's next. Aha, right, straight over the road. Yet another walkthrough habitat. This time it's the wallabies. The cuteness rating on these is off the charts. How sweet is that? They're so quick and jumpy. It's so great. I still don't believe when the game says they can jump 3 meters in height. That's the same jump that the kangaroo can do. And compared to the size of the kangaroo, the wallabies are much smaller. I don't believe they can jump 3 meters. That's why, despite their size, the wall around this enclosure is very high. That's the end of the habitat-heavy area of the zoo, and we're moving into a new section now. Now, this section is basically the habitat behind us here is the only habitat that I blueprinted from my original zoo. This is the only one that met the standard I wanted to achieve in this zoo. I have still made some changes, particularly around the front here. Like I mentioned before, I moved that huge wooden canopy in favour of the smaller ones here. And there's new glass fencing because the water wouldn't go back in once I placed the blueprint. The water in this game is such a nightmare sometimes. Let's take a look inside. There we go, it's the dingo. Oh, and it's a puppy as well. Maybe a tad too big, this enclosure, but you know, I was using a blueprint that I'd made years ago, so I'm going to blame my former self for that. Oh, and this is, without a doubt, this is my favourite enrichment animation of all the animals in Planet Zoo, the rope. The rope is just, it's been animated so well, this. Hands down, my favourite. Now, since this habitat is so large, this was the only one I felt comfortable allowing the monorail to pass through. The others in this zoo are relatively small in comparison, and the monorail going through them would have dominated the space. But for this one, it blended enough to not look overbearing or weird, so I allowed it. Aside from that stuff, I've kept to the original concept that I developed in the previous Australia Zoo for this. Looking over it now, I could have spent a bit more time on the vegetation in here, but there was so much to do in this zoo, I can forgive myself for utilising a blueprint for this one section at the back. Anyway, next we're back onto some new habitats again. Purposely placed this one adjacent to the wallaby so that the high fence is matched. It's the kangaroo. Kangaroos get a bigger hard shelter here than the wallabies because they are bigger. Simple as that. Also creates a really nice viewing area for guests here under some shelter. Let's see if we can spot one. Not making themselves very visible for the guests, are they? Ah, there they are. Hiding here at the back, getting drinks of water. Only issue with this habitat, I may have gone a tad overboard with the vegetation. The kangaroo is one of just a few animals that fit better with the red desert biome. There's just a few of them, would have looked better without the switch. Considering it's only a few though, that's why I felt comfortable making the change. That's the beauty of Planet Zoo, it's all about compromise, isn't it? Right, what do we have left? Making our way slowly but surely down to the front again. One more monorail station here, again in a similar design. On a higher incline though this one, isn't it? And across from this, I remember now, this is 2 more species very close to each other because you wouldn't think it, but you can house the quokkas and the emus together. Apparently they will live together quite happily. Oh boy, that's a lot of quokkas. Gonna have to pull out the contraceptives there, aren't I? Quokkas and emus, they will live together, but so with quokkas, you can have that as a walk-through enclosure, and you can't do that with the emus. So what I thought originally was I was going to put the two enclosures together and make it one big enclosure, but cut it off so that the guests could walk through the section that the quokkas were in and then have like a gap in the fence so that they could get through and live with the emus as well. But then I realised that the emu babies, they are so small that they would get through to the other side, and then that wouldn't work because it would frighten guests. So instead, the quokkas and the emus are destined not to live together, unfortunately. We've got separate walkthrough here and a separate emu enclosure. Something I've added here though, another one of my quirky design features. If you don't want to walk through the quokkas, you can still view them from the other side. I've made their hard shelter this little rock enclosure. There's a window back here to see them through. Not got a clue if this is realistic. It probably isn't, but hey ho, it looks good, doesn't it? Anyway, that's the quokkas and the emus. Behind this is one of the other sections I'd blueprinted from the original zoo. This is a dedicated staff area, and I've created this using a common sustainable building technique that's used in hot and cold climates: earth sheltering. To create this, a majority of the building has earthworks piled up against it to insulate from cold or heat, and it's a great passive way to maintain an ambient temperature without having to resort to air conditioning or heating. Also kept the solar panels back here like I had in the original. Since I've turned off energy management in creative mode, this is purely for decorative purposes. The game has us placing far too many energy sources for realism, so this is kind of demonstrating how a carbon-conscious zoo would fulfill its energy requirements. That brings us back to where we started. That's the whole zoo. Every Oceania animal in the game. A huge project that I've had stuck in the back of my mind for 4 years. 4 whole years. It's finally done. Can put this in the completed pile. Hope you've enjoyed the tour, and if you would like to check this out for yourself, the zoo is now available on the Steam Workshop. There's a link in the description. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.